What's up, cinephiles on quarantine? Welcome to our latest episode. Kevin, before we begin, how are you? How are you doing, man?
Starting to get fed up with my own house.
That's for sure.
I think I'm gonna finish most of the Netflix titles, new Netflix titles, by the end of this home quarantine. But I hope this will be over soon. How are you, Phil?
Well, I just got my home quarantine pass, and if you're fed up with your house, I'm fed up with my mini studio here because I have a much smaller space. But yeah, we have to get through this. Everyone out there watching this, just stay safe. Okay, so for this episode, we are going to review The Platform. This is a Spanish film directed by, I hope I pronounced this right, Galder, Gaztelu-Urrutia. What is this movie about?
Okay, now you guys have to listen very closely because this is one of those films where the concept is the plot. So basically what happens in The Platform is our protagonist named Goring, played by an excellent Spanish actor, Iván Massague. He wakes up on a room with his cellmate. It's a confined rectangular room and there's a rectangular hole in the middle of the room. So what happens is every certain time of the day, a platform hovers from top to below. It contains their sustenance for the day. We have no idea how tall this building is, but we know for sure that if you're in the upper levels, well, you're gonna get fed, that's for sure. But when it gets down below, things are getting from tasty to nasty. So this is a very, very visceral film. It's a dystopian setting film. And Phil, why don't you start off?
First, I want to give credit where credit is due. Kevin, I really don't know anything about this movie until you told me to watch it. So thanks for that because we really don't have much to do.
Well, for starters, this movie made noise back in 2019 Toronto International Film Festival. I believe it won the Audience Choice Award in the Midnight Madness section.
And yeah, I'm really glad you suggested to review this film. This is a really good film. This is the reason why I love movies. This movie reminded me so much concept-wise of Snowpiercer, where there's so much commentary about society. But the difference with this is a very not subtle film. It's not subtle at all. Everything that the film is trying to say is in your face. And this is probably one of the angriest films that I've ever seen in my entire life. It's very in your face how they show that those who are above, they don't really care about those people down below them. And in effect, those people down below just kept feeding off of each other. And it is really an angry film. It's kind of a tough watch.
It is a tough watch. It is something that you don't want, but once it's presented it to you, it's hard to resist. Now that you've mentioned it's in your face, for me, I'm actually fine with that treatment because that film needed it to be. It's very blatant that it wants to make a statement that it's all about the unequal distribution of wealth among the rich and the poor, which are represented by the different hierarchy here. And this film is just so filled with socio-political allegories that every section of this movie, it just says a lot. Like, for example, many ideologies are presented in this movie. Like, there's one character here, I think his name is Trimegasi. He really believes that in this world, it's eat or be eaten. And there's another female character here named Imogwiri who presents that solidarity is the best way for all of these prisoners, or in the metaphorical sense, all of the Masangkay to move forward. When she starts to ration the food, you have these conflicting ideologies, and then by the third act, there's a third ideology that was presented that, yeah, it's fine to be diplomatic, but when things get really nasty, you need to push with a metal arm so that you can go forward with what you're really set out to do. This movie is not just a walking socio-political allegory. Plot-wise, there are a lot of twists and turns in this movie that it keeps you really hooked. We've come to learn that every month there will be stationed in a different level. So if the first month you're stationed in a better level, say level 30, for the next month you can be situated way below to level 120, what or God knows how far. Throughout this film, we see the character of Goring really broken. For every character that he meets in this film, a ghost of their memory remains etched in his psyche.
He's a really interesting character for me because he came into this situation really an idealistic man. I think every prisoner is allowed to bring his own item, and he's the only one who brought a book. Some of them brought knives, some of them brought rope, some of them brought really practical things, but he brought a book. Seeing him turn from this idealistic character into this very cynical man by near the end of this movie is really interesting. And another thing is, there's a thing that Trimagasi does in this movie that really stuck with me. The way he spits at his food after every meal. He wants to feel good about himself. He is of higher stature than those below him. So he wants those down below him to eat his spit. And that just speaks a lot about our society nowadays, because they just really want to say how those above don't really care about those down below. But I have also to say that when that novelty wears off about the central message of this movie, it kind of bothers me a bit because there's a little bit of plot holes in this movie and some clunky exposition, although didn't really meander my experience in watching this movie. It's really noticeable once the central message of this movie is in your face and it kind of wears off.
I agree with what you said. This is a really messed up film, not in a bad way, because it presents all the best and worst, specifically more of the worst of mankind. And I've seen a lot of exploitative films. There's a Netflix film that I've seen recently, The Circle. It's also sort of a experimental film where a group of people are placed in a circle, and for every round they decide which of them is going to die. So anyway, in that film, I was kind of mixed with that film because at the end of the movie, I was looking for I think a glimmer of hope. So I cannot completely say that this is just a cynical film that its main purpose is just to present all the worst of mankind. And in here, there's certainly a hope, which I am surprised because by the middle section, I am already expecting for the film to really go on a tragic route. We're talking about allegory. Most of this is abstract in concept. There might be plot holes or some things that left unexplained, but I think those moments are what allows viewers to invite them to bring their own interpretation. And it's true what you've said about the characters here. I'm really intrigued by Trimagasi. At one point, he says to Goreng's character, like, so who's you're gonna blame? It's like throwing a question to us. For every action that you done, for every despicable action that you've done, are you gonna blame the society or yourself? In the truth, you can never really answer those questions because those things really fall on a gray area. It really piqued my interest. And yeah, going back to the glimmer of hope that I found towards near the third act, it's quite uncanny that our protagonist here starts to look like Jesus Christ towards the end. Are you getting what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
It feels so hopeless throughout the film. Like, you don't see this administration that they're talking about. Where are they? How do you beat the system? It's really hard. They took it upon themselves to find a way to solve this class warfare. It is really a masterclass visual storytelling. The whole setting is just confined into this tall building filled with gray walls and white linens. With that very neutral and bland setting, it's able to pop out those graphic moments of gore, which I tend really to look away, to be put off. But in this case, really, gore and violence is needed to really put a stamp to the message.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned about the violence in this movie. I think that's one of its strong suits, is it's not really afraid to show the things, because again, this is not an easy watch. Those violent scenes are really, really violent and very, very raw. When you think about it, they're very feasible to happen. I don't want to keep talking about the violence because I might spoil what happens in this movie, but really, if you're a bit of a faint of heart viewer, I don't really believe that this movie will be for you. You're not gonna love this film because it's very, very raw. So all in all, the platform is the kinds of experimental film that I really live for, and although it's not really a film that's to be wowed about. What it says is really, well, in our world today, that message should be put forth to everyone. All in all, it's a hard watch, but still, it kind of impacted me. It's the angriest film I've seen in a while, and I am going to give this movie 4 out of 5 stars.
So for me, The Platform is really a piece of provocative cinema. The whole film works as a socio-economic model that really paints the status of the poor and the rich, how the rich piss on the poor, and how those who are on top are just greedy and not really caring for the needs of those who are below. It's a powerful message that I can't exactly recommend this movie, especially these tough and depressing times that we're going on through. What's disturbing is you've seen these people fight and murder each other and you're repelled by it. There's a lot of repulsive moments in this film, but when you come to think of it, it's what's happening in real life really. It's just put in a hyper-realist context. So for me, those films that really brought their concept into something that's substantial and meaningful, that's what I really like. And maybe at the end, it's a perfect watch considering that we are all in isolation. We are aka in our own prisons. I'm glad that I've seen this movie. I'm not exactly sure if I can watch it again, but for now, I am giving this 4.5 out of 5 stars.
Okay, so that's it for our review of The Platform. If you like this video, click that like button and subscribe to our channel.
Also guys, tell us what you think about this movie. If you have any thoughts, hit them below. Till then guys, see you on the next one. Bye!
Take care in isolation, guys. Bye-bye.